Welcome back, everyone, to the Yes series. It's part two, Time and a Word. And I've got my record here. Briar has the CD there. This is Yes's second studio album, released in 1970, I believe. Yes, 1970. I
Yes.
see here on the back. Yes. But I'm very looking forward to going through this album. As much as I like the first album, I think I like this even better. So, do you have any background information for this particular album?
Yep. Yes, I do. Of course, the debut did decently well. Obviously, it wasn't a blockbuster or anything, but got them a little bit notice. And so by this point, they were touring a lot more, and they kind of recorded this album while on tour. Like every time they had spare time, they kind of would head to the studio and start recording. A little different though. They actually got a different producer this time. This producer is actually a friend of John. His name was Tony Colton, and again, it's kind of pushing the band to a different direction here. Funny enough, this was engineered by Eddie Offord, who would later become a big figure in the Yes history, which we'll get to later. But yeah, of course, this is again, they were kind of mixed with the production. Of course, the most vocal one, who was very critical of Tony's production, was the guitarist Peter Banks, because of course this album kind of utilizes a lot more string arrangements. Definitely having more prominent sound here, and Peter has been very vocal that he really didn't like this edition, that he really was not on board. And I've heard stories that him and Colton didn't get along either, so there's maybe a little bit of that as well. And it goes without saying, this is the final album to have Peter Banks on guitar. He would leave. He was actually fired not long after. And it kind of brings us into the album cover, because of course there's two versions of it. You can't really see the original cover, but I do have it a little bit back there, but luckily the mic stand kind of censors it because it has a nude woman on the cover, which of course would not fly here in the US, so they had to change it to this. Of course, by this point they already replaced Peter Banks, and you have Steve Howe on the cover. He's in the red, even though he does not play at all on the album. So a little fun fact there. And yeah, you can see it a lot better on the record there. And this album definitely did a lot better than the first. It got to number 45 in the UK. It still didn't chart in the US, but they're starting to get a bit more notice than the last time. And I guess I'll go into kind of my brief thoughts on this album. If you were to ask me maybe a year ago, I would have said that I thought it was good, but I liked the debut more. And it's really because I haven't heard this album in quite a long time. And because it's been so long, I kind of forgot a lot of the songs on it. But I'm going to say, like, revisiting this album again for this series, it definitely kind of reminded me, like, oh yeah, this is a really good album. And I'm going to say, I really starting to push it more, trying to expand themselves musically. And I think the strings actually work pretty well here. And so, yeah, I'm very looking forward to talking about this album.
Cool. Well, that was the background information. Now we're going to get to our track by track of the album. But first, do you have any just kind of brief thoughts about the album?
Yeah, I kind of already did near the end there.
Okay, so yeah, I guess it's my turn then. I think that this is a step up from the debut album. I actually really like the string arrangements on here. I think they really add to the atmosphere of this particular album. It was kind of good that there was a disagreement, because then, like, if there wasn't, we wouldn't have Steve Howe, and I like a lot better. Even though Peter Banks really steps it up on this particular album, the guitar is a lot more up front in this album than on the last one. I just think that it's definitely heading in the right direction, and everything would come together on the next album, which is the album, which I'm really looking forward to reviewing that one. But we are going to get into our first track, which is called No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed.
Okay, so we're kind of starting off with a cover. Actually, there's kind of similar to the first album. They do have two covers here, and this is the first one. And yeah, this is a pretty great way to open it up. I think you have Tony Kaye has a really good like organ keyboard intro, which definitely sets the tone. And then as soon as the string and the horns kick in, then it just goes into high gear at that point, as well as the drums. Again, I feel like the bass is way more upfront here than on the debut, I think. Just some really great fast picking from Chris. And I like the chorus too. Some really nice melody in that one. And yeah, Peter Banks' guitar playing, still very strong. Some really good moments here. And yeah, overall, I think this was a pretty good way to open the album up. And kind of a little side note, did you know there's music videos to this album?
I saw the music video for this song where it's like them in a car or something like that.
Yeah, they're kind of in like a junkyard area. I don't get the correlation, but it's interesting. But overall, pretty good opening song.
Okay, I really love this song. The bass playing is amazing. I like the strings. The musicianship is just all around amazing on this song. Fun fact, Geddy Lee has said that this song kind of inspired him on bass. He said that like he had a friend invite him over and said, "Hey, you want to hear this album by a band called Yes?" And they pull out this album, put on the song, and said once he heard no opportunity necessary, no experience needed, it was like that was kind of a game-changing moment for him in his bass playing career. This is one of my favorites on the album. Okay, yeah. So the second song that we have is called Then.
Hey. Yeah, this is another pretty good song. Really nice follow-up. You have a nice slower organ intro, which is pretty cool. And again, you have nice playing from Chris and Peter on this as well, as long as Bill Bruford on the drums. And yeah, the strings, once again, very good melody for it, very strong. And as well as the chorus. The chorus is also pretty good. And this one has a lot more switch ups, different tempo changes, especially in like the later half where Chris really kicks it. Like it's one of those like common Chris tropes, him really picking very fast. So it's not going to be the last he'll do that. And there's some nice keyboard flourishes as well. The horns are very good. I mean, the guitar does get buried at points, but it's not too distracting. And of course, there's a nice little false ending where it kind of tricks you out. But overall, this is a very cool song. And this one also has a music video, which you have John Anderson dressed as Clint Eastwood from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for some reason. And Steve Howe is also in it. And what's also fascinating is that they had Tony and Chris swap instruments, where Tony is on bass and Chris is on keyboards. I don't know why they did that, but it's
weird. People.
It's weird, but also fascinating. Probably, yeah. I'm really surprised by that. But overall, really good a follow-up track.
This song is absolutely amazing. It kind of starts out as more of a ballad, but then like Bill Bruford's strumming on this is the best part. It is absolutely insane. Between that and Chris Squire's bass playing, like the musicianship on this song is top notch. It is insanely good. Like I thought, No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed was going to be like my favorite. But like this is even better than that. Okay, so the third song is going to be Everydays, which is a cover of a Stephen Stills song.
Yeah. It's actually a funny story because this is actually technically a Buffalo Springfield song. And I know that because I recently picked up like their second album, Buffalo Springfield Again. And I didn't even look at the track listing when I was giving this a listen until it got... What's even more ironic, this is also the third song on this album, so I guess there's a correlation. But yeah, I was listening to this album. I was listening to the album, and when it got to Everydays, I was like, wait a minute, I feel like I know this song. And then I finally clicked, like, oh yeah, I heard Yes do this song. But yeah, so it's kind of weird because again, I'm I've always been familiar with their version. It's a pretty nice song. Definitely a much slower track, and definitely really honing in on the jazz feel. Even the original kind of has a jazz feel to it. But still, the keyboards sound really good as long as the strings. And the bass really very strong. And there's a lot of dynamics with this as well, because this is also an extended piece that they did. The original was like 2 minutes, like almost 3 minutes, but this is like doubled. So the second half is a lot more big sound, a lot more tempo changes here, which is pretty cool. And then it goes back to the main melody. But yeah, I think it's a really good cover. Yeah, so every time I hear the song, I'm always going to think of the Yes version, but that's just me.
All they have to do is cover a Holly song, and then Yes will have covered Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Sadly, they didn't, though.
Oh yeah, there you go.
This is really good. I like the kind of slower feel to it. I like the well. I really like that. The jazz influence on here is really good. Bill Bruford, with the jazz background, really knows how to drum on here. And I love the surprise ending with the orchestra, where it just kind of like plays really loud, like crescendos, and then gets really almost chaotic at the end with the orchestra. This is not my favorite song on the album. It's probably my third favorite, my least favorite up to this point, but I still think it's really good. And like every song on this album is amazing. So now we're going to get to the final song on the first side, called Sweet Dreams.
All right. Okay, this is another pretty nice song. This is probably one of the more straightforward songs. It's kind of sounds like it would have been a good single. I'm not sure if it was a single. I didn't look that up, but definitely has a very good memorable chorus to it, especially the Sweet Dreams whole thing. And the bridge had some good moments too. And it's funny enough, I've read that Trevor Rabin, who would later join the band in the 80s, he said he was a huge fan of this song, and he would actually convince the band to play it on the 90125 tour. A little interesting tidbit there. Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, this is not like one of my all-time favorites on the album, but it's still pretty good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, this definitely should have been like maybe not the lead-off single, because I think No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed would have made a really good lead-off single. But this should have been one of the singles, because I can hear it being played on the radio. I love the bass playing on here. Chris Squire's bass playing is very good on here. It's just another amazing song on this album. And now we are going to flip the record over to side 2, and we're going to get The Prophet.
Okay, so this is a pretty good song here. This is, I guess, I would say this is like their first real true attempt of writing an epic sort of song. Lyrically, it's pretty fascinating. Talks about him, kind of telling about this guy, kind of trying to promote like the whole idea of trying to believe in yourself, sort of thing. Something like that on that line. But this one definitely really hones in on the more classical influence. I know John Anderson is a huge classical music fan, and so he really wanted to bring that in. And actually, they would use motifs from different classical pieces, especially a segment of the Planet Suite, which was particularly during the Jupiter segment, which is pretty cool. Just overall, like everybody's really great on this one. Like the strings, once again, the bass has a really good bounce to it, which I enjoy. And yeah, just a really good driving rhythm. I think this is a big standout. I really enjoy this one.
Yeah, I caught Peter Banks playing a little quote from Jesu bleibe meine Freude by Bach. Do 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 do. I didn't catch the planets one, but I caught that one. But this is really cool. Really cool way to open the second side. It starts off with this ominous organ playing by Tony Kaye. We get this really ominous organ intro, and then it's just like an explosion of sound. They just go all these crazy places with this song. Chris Squire once again playing it up on the bass. Bill Bruford drumming. John Anderson's vocals are very good. This is really cool. I really like this song. And now we're going to get to track 2 on the second side called Clear Days.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of it's kind of like one of those ballads, kind of similar to Yesterday and Today on the debut, where it's basically just John Anderson kind of delivering a very nice, very gentle vocal performance here. And I still prefer Yesterday and Today. I think that's the better one, but this is still pretty good too. I like the strings and the piano on this one. It's another pretty short song. Doesn't really overstay its welcome. It's about 2 minutes roughly. But yeah, I think it's a very pretty song. Just a very short and sweet number. I like this one.
I think this is a really cool song. You can tell this was the John Anderson song on the album, but it's John Anderson with like an orchestra behind him. It's the ballad here on this album. Kind of a calm down after the of the Prophet, but right. I think it's very good. It's a short, sweet little number. Gets to the point. I really enjoyed this one. Now, track 3 on side 2 is called Astral Traveler.
All right. So this one has a pretty good guitar riff. I really enjoyed that one, and that kind of carries the whole song for me. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. Personally, it's not one of my personal favorites on the album, but there's still some good moments here. Again, Bill Bruford's drumming on here, top notch, as long as Tony Kaye's keyboard playing. And there's a really cool guitar solo on here that I really liked as well. I did notice there was some kind of effect on John's vocals that I found a little distracting, but it doesn't ruin it for me. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty solid song.
I thought this song was really cool. In fact, I kind of feel like this is the precursor to Starship Trooper. I really like all of the instrumentation on here. I actually liked the vocal.
Makes sense. It has Astral, Starship.
I actually liked the vocal effect on John Anderson's voice. I thought it was cool. Again, Bill Bruford's drumming is crazy on this song. This actually is one of my favorites on the album. And the final song on the album is Time and a Word.
Right. So this was kind of like the big anthem piece. Supposed to have that very singable chorus that anybody can join in on. And yeah, this was kind of John really trying to push for something like that. Even though by this point he was still kind of new, but he was kind of limited at the time, so he only played 3 chords when he presented it. But yeah, the rest of the band really shaped it. Good acoustic guitar playing here, and Peter Banks is playing some nice electric over on top of it, which is very nice. Just keeps the steady beat. The chorus just has a real feel-good feeling to it. And it just keeps building. There's a lot of build-up in this one. I think it pays off pretty well with the keyboards and the horns. I think it's a very good closing track. This is a highlight for me. And yeah, really enjoyed this one.
Okay, so this song is absolutely amazing as well. I'm going to have a hard time picking my favorite on here. But I love the instrument playing as always on here, but like this one, the chorus was super catchy. There's a time and a word and a word and a time that's right for me. That's right for me, and the one is now. I really like that. John Anderson's singing is very good on this song. This is a very good way to end this album. So now we are going to get into the top 5 songs here. Flip it back the right way.
Okay, so top 5 for me. There we go. Yes, flip it back over. So number 5, I have Every Days. Number 4, Clear Days. I have 2 days on my top 5. How about that? Number 3, Then. Number 2, No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed. And number 1, Time and a Word.
Cool. My favorite song on the album is going to be Then. That song is amazing. Number 2 is Time and a Word. Number 3 is No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed. Number 4 is going to be Astral Traveler, and number 5, Sweet Dreams. And what would you give this album on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give this, I gave the debut an 8. So I'm going to give this album an 8.5. I definitely, like I said before, if you would ask me maybe a year ago, I probably would have given it a 7.75. But revisiting again and kind of being reminded on this album, I do see it is a step in the right direction for them. And there's some great songs that I forgot about that I really do enjoy. But, you know, they're going to get even better from here. So for right now, it's an 8.5.
I'm going to give it 8.75. This is a step up from the last album. I do love every song on this album. I just feel like they do even bigger and better stuff coming up on the next several albums. And I'm excited to get to dive into those. So next time we are going to be reviewing the Yes album from 1971, where Steve Howe finally gets to join the band. And the one where, yes, I feel like they finally get their sound. So be sure to join in next time. We will see you then. Just remember that music is art and art is expression. See you later.